Hey mathematics learners, welcome to Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. So on today's video tutorial, guys, we are going to be tackling question 1.3 from the grade 12 mathematical literacy paper 2 that was written in June 2023. And question 1.3, guys, deals with measurement, right? In particular, we're going to be calculating the volume of a cylindrical object, okay, or the cylindrical pedestal. Okay, so before we get started with today's video tutorial, guys, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Please make sure that you click on that notification bell so that you guys get notified every single time I upload a video tutorial, guys. And also please don't forget to give all these video tutorials a huge thumbs up, because that really helps the channel grow and it helps the channel to reach more learners that want to better their mathematics marks. Also, guys, we are starting with our first online Zoom lessons on the 2nd of March, this Saturday, right? So if you know that you're struggling with mathematical literacy and you need that additional help, most especially if you're an adult matric learner, most especially if you're a learner that gets less than 60% in mathematical literacy, I'd recommend that you join these online lessons. Okay, so you basically pay $350 per month and you get 2 lessons per week, so it's a total of 8 lessons per month. Okay, so if that is something you would be interested in, please make sure that you join the group, right? I'm only going to be taking a maximum of 15 learners. Okay, so without any further ado, guys, let's get started with today's video tutorial. So like I mentioned, guys, we're going to be looking at question 1.3, and question 1.3 deals measurements, in particular calculating volume, and also being able, it tests whether you're able to convert from millimeters to meters. So are you able to do your length conversions? Okay, so let's have a look. It says the sketches below show a pedestal and a diagram of the pedestal with its dimensions. The pedestal can be used as a table, plant stand, or as extra seating. Okay, so we're given this picture of this pedestal. I would assume that the material that they've used with to make this pedestal is concrete or cement, right? And they're saying that you can use this pedestal as a table, right? You can use this pedestal to basically put your plants on top as a stand for your plants. You can use this pedestal as a seat, or right, as a chair to sit on. Okay, we're given the diagram of a pedestal, of this pedestal with the dimensions, right? So we are given that, okay, the length from there to there is 124 millimeters. What is this length called, right? Do you guys agree that that is actually the diameter? Okay, because we did mention that the diameter is the distance from the circumference through the center to the circumference. Okay, so this distance here, this length here, right, is what our diameter. Okay, so just for interest sakes, right, how would you basically then determine your radius, right? So we know with our radius, we've also just discussed this just now with question 1.1. The radius is the distance from the center to the circumference, or from the center to the outer part of our circle, right? So then to get your radius, guys, right, you would basically have to take your diameter, right, and then you would divide it by 2, because do we see that that is actually half of your diameter? The radius is half of your diameter, hence the formula. So this is just for interest sakes, right, so that you guys always just have this at the back of your head, how you'd go about calculating or determining your radius if they just give you your diameter. All right, so I think we're more than ready to have a look at the questions that are given to us. Also, guys, we're given this height of the pedestal, and the height is 124 millimeters. Okay, so it says use the information above to answer the questions that follow. Question 1.3.1, choose a formula below which can be used to calculate the total volume of the pedestal. Okay, so guys, it's very important that you guys understand what exactly we are talking about when we are talking about volume. Okay, when we're talking about volume, guys, we are talking about what is the amount of space, right, that a particular object occupies, right? What is the amount of space that is enclosed, right, within a particular object? Okay, so for example, if you think of it in terms of like a juice bottle, right, and I say to you, please determine the volume of this juice bottle. Basically what we're trying to determine is that how much juice can this bottle take? Okay, so that is what we're talking about. Or how much space does this bottle take up, right, in a particular, let's say for example, box, right? How much space would that bottle take up within a particular box? Okay, so that is what we are talking about when we are talking about volume, right? And how would we go about calculating volume? Okay, so when we calculate volume, guys, remember volume is equal to, okay, so this is just additional notes, right? When we calculate volume, we know that volume, right, is equal to the area, right, multiplied by height. Okay, so how would we go about calculating the volume of a cylindrical container, right? So you have your cylinder here, right? And then in this case, we are told that the diameter, so the distance from the circumference through the center to the circumference, is 124 millimeters. That is our diameter. And we are told that the height of our cylindrical container is equal to 124 millimeters, right? How would we go about then calculating how much space this pedestal occupies, right? We basically take area multiplied by height. So what area would we now use, right? If you were to look at this cylindrical container from the top, right, you'd see that, okay, the shape of this part of the cylindrical container, right, is a circle, right? So how would we go about calculating the area of a circle? It's pi times r squared. Okay, and then what's left for us to do? We just need to then determine the height. Okay, so what is the height of this cylindrical container? So taking the area, right, that is occupied there at the top, multiplying by the height of the cylindrical container will actually give us how much space this cylindrical container occupies, right? How much space this cylindrical container takes up. Okay, so that is the formula that we use to calculate volume of a cylinder, right? I'll give you guys another example. Let's say we're basically given a rectangular prism. Okay, this is our rectangular prism, right? Just gonna draw that there. It's like a box, right? A rectangular box. How would we go about calculating the area, the volume of this box? How much space, right, is enclosed within that box? Or how much space does this box take up, right, in space, right? So in other words, you'd basically say volume is equal to the area of a rectangle multiplied by its height. Okay, so in this case, let's say they gave us the length and then they said the length is 20 centimeters. They gave us the width. They said the width is 10 centimeters, and then they gave us the height, and then they said that the height is 5 centimeters. How would we go about calculating then the volume of this rectangular box? We would calculate the area of this box. How do you calculate area, right? Area is length times breadth, right? Or length times width, right? Multiplied by its height. Okay, so that is basically what we would do. So you take the 20 centimeters multiplied by the 10 centimeters multiplied by the 5 centimeters, and that would basically give us the volume of this box, how much space this box takes up, okay, or how much space is enclosed inside this box. So that is how we go about calculating volume. Okay, so but then that is just additional information, right? Let's have a look at the question. The question is basically asking us to choose a formula. Is it A, is it B, or C below, which can be used to calculate the total volume of the pedestal. So in this case, we already established that this pedestal is a cylindrical, this is a cylindrical shape, okay? So in this case, when we're calculating the volume, we need to use the formula that we use for when we are dealing with a cylindrical object, okay, which is, you take into consideration there the 2D shape that we have there, it is a circle. So the area of this circle multiplied by height, okay? So what is the area? We did mention that it is, area of a circle is pi times r squared. And then you need to multiply by the height. So it's h, okay? So then the correct formula that we use to calculate the total volume of the pedestal is C. Okay, so question 1.3.1, the answer is C. All right, let's have a look at question 1.3.2. It says, write down the units of measurement for the volume of the pedestal using the given units in the diagram. Okay, so with this question, right, I was also discussing this concept with one of my learners that basically attends lessons with me, right? When you're calculating volume, what is actually happening? When they talk about units of measurements, what are they talking about? Okay, I'm going to give you guys the example of the rectangular box. Okay, how would we determine the units of measurement? Remember, I did mention that if we wanted to calculate the volume of this rectangular box, right, the volume would be equal to the area of a rectangle multiplied by the height. Okay, how do you determine the area of a rectangle, right? It is just the length multiplied by the breadth, right? And then we multiplied by the height. So let's just do that. What is the length? It will be 20 what? Millimeters. Multiplied by the breadth. What is the breadth? It is 10, right? So sorry, this is millimeters, okay? Millimeters. And what is the height? The height is 5. 5 what? Millimeters, okay? So if you were to punch this into your calculator, what would be the volume of this rectangular box? The volume of this rectangular box, right, would be 1,000, right? 1,000 watts, right? So here we see it is millimeters multiplied by millimeters multiplied by millimeters. Okay, so that means that the units that we're going to have, right, for calculating volume is going to be millimeters to the power of 3, okay, because we are multiplying millimeters by millimeters by millimeters. Okay, so if you were to take you back to just grade 9 work, right, when you guys were doing laws of exponents, if you guys still remember, right, and we were basically mentioning that if you are multiplying numbers that have the same base, okay, 2a multiplied by 2a, right, then that means that you need to basically add the exponents of your base, right? So in this case, 2 times 2 is 4. A times a, this is a to the exponent of 1. This is a to the exponent of 1. So your final answer will be a to the exponent of 1 plus 1, which is 2. Okay, so this is basically the same concept that is being assessed here, right? You are multiplying values, right, that have the same base, right? So it's 20 millimeters multiplied by 10 millimeters multiplied by 5 millimeters. Okay, so the units of measurements, it's millimeters, you add your exponents there, right? So it's 1 plus 1 plus 1, it's millimeters to the power of 3. Okay, so when you're multiplying units, okay, or numbers that have the same base, right, in this case you will just add the exponents. So that is why we get that millimeters to the power of 3. However, if we were basically just adding, if it was just 20 plus, if it was just 20 plus, if it was just 20 millimeters plus 10 millimeters plus 5 millimeters, right? In this case, we are not multiplying, okay? So then when you basically were to put this into your calculator, right, it would be 20 plus 10 plus 15. It was just going to be 35 millimeters, right? But when you are multiplying, right, then in that case, that is when you need to take into consideration the addition of the exponents. Okay, so in this case, because we are multiplying millimeters and millimeters and millimeters, we've got 3 millimeters that we are multiplying. Therefore, the units for measurements when you are basically calculating volume is unit squared. It's millimeters squared. It is centimeters. It's millimeters cubed. It's centimeters cubed. It's kilometers cubed. What am I forgetting? It's meters cubed. Those are the units of measurement for volume, right? What about area? Okay, if you were calculating area, what are the units of measurements for area? Okay, let's just look at another practical example. We just have a rectangle here, right? I'm gonna just keep using the rectangle example, right? We've got the length of this rectangle, let's just say maybe 7 centimeters, and then the breadth of this rectangle is 3 centimeters. And they said, what are the units of measurement for area? We know that area, right, is equal to length multiplied by the breadth, right? What is the length? It is 7 centimeters. What is the breadth? It is 3 centimeters, right? 7 times 3 is equal to 21. Centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared, because we are multiplying, therefore we add our exponents. That is why it's centimeters squared. So the units for measurements for area, it's centimeters squared, it's millimeters squared, it's kilometers squared, it's meters squared, it's units squared when we're calculating area. Okay, so that is basically what this question is asking us, right? In the case of this calculating the volume of this cylindrical pedestal, right? What is the unit of measurement of volume for the volume of the pedestal using the given diagram? So in this case, we were basically calculating volume using which units? We're using millimeters. Okay, so in this case, the units for measurements here, right? Remember we said volume is equal to the area multiplied by the height. What is the area? It's your area of the circle, so it's pi r squared, right? So pi times r squared multiplied by height, right? Then your pi has no units. It's just 3.142 multiplied by, what would be your radius, right? In this case, our radius would be that 142 divided by 2, okay? Because we are given the diameter, right? And to get the radius is equal to diameter divided by 2. So 142 divided by 2 gives us 62. So it's going to be 62 millimeters. They are saying all of this is squared. Multiplied by, what is the height? The height is 124 millimeters. Okay, what are you noticing here? I'm just focusing on the units, right? So it's still going to be 3.142. There are no units there, right? Multiplied by 62 to the power of 2. What is 62 to the power of 2? 62 to the power of 2 is 3844. What is millimeters to the power of 2? It's millimeters squared multiplied by 124 millimeters. What are we noticing about the units of measurement here, right? We've got millimeters squared multiplied by millimeters, right? So in this case, right, we will have our final answer, right? You'll take that 3.142 multiplied by 3844 multiplied by 124, right? Your final answer would be 1497653 0.152. What are the units that we are left with? It's millimeters squared multiplied by millimeters. We add our exponents, right? So in this case, it will be millimeters to the power of 3. Okay, so it still goes back to what I basically explained to you guys when we even just calculating the volume of a rectangle. It's millimeters times millimeters times millimeters, right? Right? So you're adding the exponents, right? It's 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 3. Okay, so in this case, because we've got that millimeters squared plus millimeters, right? It's millimeters to the power of 3. Okay, if you basically have forgotten what are the units of measurement for volume, you can also just prove it like that. Okay, so in this case, the units of measurement for volume, I was just using this just to explain why the units are millimeters squared, millimeters cubed. Okay, so the units of measurement, right, is millimeters cubed. Okay, that is our final answer. Question 1.3.3 says convert the height of the pedestal to meters. Okay, so we're given the height of the pedestal is 124 millimeters. Okay, let's just write that down. Okay, the height currently is equal to 124 millimeters. We want to convert these 124 millimeters into meters. Okay, so you're going to have to think back to the video tutorials that we've done together where we did conversions of your length or your length conversions, right? Remember, if you have to move from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, so it's your kilometers, it's meters, it's centimeters, and it's millimeters, all right? How would you then move from each of these units? Okay, so if you want to move from kilometers to meters, right, I mentioned that you multiply it by 1,000. Please watch this video tutorial where I explain how you basically do your length conversions, mass conversions, cooking conversions, temperature conversions. Okay, if you want to move from meters to centimeters, you multiply it by 100. Centimeters, centi for century, a century is 100. If you want to move from centimeters to millimeters, you multiply it by 10. If you want to move from millimeters to centimeters, you do the reverse operation of what you did at the top. So you're going to divide by 10. If you want to move from centimeters to meters, you do the reverse operation of what you did at the top. So you're going to divide by 100. If you want to move from meters to kilometers, you're going to do the reverse operation of what you did at the top. So you're going to divide by 1,000. You see how nice and easy this is? Most especially if you make use of this diagram, you'll never forget, okay, that you're moving from a bigger unit, right, to your smaller units. Okay, and then from there, what is this question asking us to do? We want to convert this 124 millimeters into meters. So where are we on this diagram? We are on millimeters. We are currently here. And where do we want to get? We want to get to meters. So what do we need to do? First thing, we need to divide by 10. However, when we divide by 10, it only puts us at centimeters, okay? So we're going to divide by 10. However, we realize after dividing by 10, we will only have units in centimeters. So we don't stop, we continue. Then we still need to divide by 100, okay? When you divide by 100, that will put us at our units in meters. Okay, so that is basically the same as just taking 124 millimeters and just dividing by 1,000. That will give me my answer in meters. Okay, so if you punch that into your calculator, you divide by 1,000, you'll find that 124 millimeters converted into meters is actually equal to 0.124 meters. Okay, another way that we can look at this on how you can convert from millimeters into meters, right? You can just think of it this way. How many millimeters do I have in 1 meter? So I can say 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. Okay, right? So then I'm gonna take that 124 millimeters. Okay, I'm gonna use this equation that I've basically written down here, and I'm gonna use that to help me convert these 124 millimeters into meters. What do I do, right? I've basically said that in this case, 124 millimeters is the same as just saying 124 divided by 1, right? Then I'm going to multiply. What do I want? I want to get to the units in meters. So I'm going to multiply by 1 meter, okay? Then I'm going to divide. What do I have here, right? So currently on my left hand side, I've got units in millimeters. So therefore you divide by what you have, which is 1,000 millimeters, okay? If you punch this into your calculator, it's the same as just saying 124 millimeters divided by 1,000, right? Millimeters, okay, multiplied by 1 meter. That will give us our answer in meters, okay? So then your answer would be 0.124 meters, okay? So that's just two ways of approaching this question. You can think of it by just looking at this diagram, most especially if you're a visual learner. You can basically tackle it in this way. If you're more of like a mathematical learner, right, you can also just use the equation, right, and think of how many millimeters do I have in 1 meter, and that is 1,000. Then you multiply it by what you want and you divide it by what you have, okay? And you want units in meters, right, and you have units in millimeters, okay? So we are basically done with question 1.3.3. Hope you guys enjoyed this question. I think the trick was just you guys understanding that when we calculate volume, you guys just need to remember that volume is the area, okay, of the 2D shape, okay, multiplied by the height. So the area of this circle multiplied by that, the height, okay? So that is just the take there. And you need to be able to calculate the volume of a cylinder, volume of a rectangle, volume of a cube, area of a rectangle, area of a circle, area of a square, right? Those are the shapes that you guys really need to know at this point, because they will pop up in your paper too, right? And it'll pop up as a 3D shape, okay? So it will be you having to calculate the volume of that 3D shape. And you need to be able to see that, okay, if I'm working with this, is it a rectangular prism? You look at the base. Okay, the base tells you the area that you need to use. In this case, our base is a circle. So that is why we basically took the area of the circle, the area of that base, multiplied by height. Okay, so volume is area of the base multiplied by height. You always need to remember that. What is our base? Okay, the base is the surface that is basic, that shape is resting on, okay? That is our base, and then you multiply it by height. So if you can identify the base and you can identify the height, then you can calculate the volume of any 3D object. All right, so that is it for today's video tutorial. In the next video tutorial, guys, we are going to be tackling question 2. And question 2, guys, deals with question 2.1, guys, deals with assembly. Okay, so this is a nice fun question. Like I mentioned, guys, basically question 1 is just your level 1 questions. Question 2, you will still get your level 1 questions where, I mean, with this topic, guys, right, when you're dealing with assembling, you should be able to get full marks. You should be able to just follow the instructions that are given to you to answer questions, right? So these questions, you need to really, in your exams, you need to score big marks, because here just needs you, these questions just need you to focus and be able to just interpret the information that is given to you, guys. Okay, so I'll see you guys on my next upload. That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye, guys.